The year was 1645, deep into the throes of the English Civil War, or as some called it, the War of the Three Kingdoms. Smoke from a distant skirmish rose over the rolling hills of Oxfordshire, a grim reminder of the kingdom's fractured state. Among the soldiers entrenched in this bitter struggle was Daniel Hawthorne, a reluctant footman in the parliamentarian New Model Army. Daniel had been a farmer tending his modest plot of land with his wife and young son. His call to war had not come from fervent loyalty to the cause, but from necessity. The promise of wages was more appealing than watching his family starve amidst the crown's taxes and the incessant raids by roving royalists. On the opposite side of this conflict was Sir Edward Morley, a Cavalier officer and staunch royalist. Born into privilege, Edward had been raised to believe in the sanctity of monarchy. He rode into battle with the confidence of a man defending the natural order, though his conscience gnawed at him when he witnessed the toll on the common people. As summer waned, the two men's paths crossed outside the village of Naseby. Daniel's regiment had been deployed to intercept a royalist convoy rumoured to carry gunpowder and provisions. The parliamentarians lay in ambush among the hedgerows, the air thick with the anticipation of violence. Edward led the convoy, his polished armour glinting in the fading sunlight. When the ambush came, it was swift and brutal. Muskets cracked and horses screamed as chaos engulfed the narrow road. Edward drew his sword, rallying his men against the surprise attack. Amidst the cacophony, Daniel found himself face to face with Edward. Their swords clashed in a furious exchange, each man driven by duty, though neither truly hated the other. Edward's experience gave him the upper hand, and with a deft parry, he disarmed Daniel.
"You're no soldier.
And you've no right to rule."
Weeks turned into months and the war dragged on. Daniel's unit pushed deeper into royalist territory, leaving a trail of burned villages and shattered lives. The idealism that had once flickered in his heart began to wane, replaced by a weary pragmatism. Their fates entwined again in the aftermath of the Battle of Naseby, where the parliamentarians claimed a decisive victory. Edward, captured and shackled, was brought to a makeshift stockade. Daniel, now a sergeant, was tasked with guarding the prisoners.
You could have killed me.
And you could have let me die."
For hours they talked about the war, their families, and the fractured land they both called home. They found common ground in their shared weariness and a mutual yearning for peace.
Go before I change my mind.
Years later, as the Commonwealth gave way to the Restoration, Daniel returned to his farm, his soul scarred but his conscience intact. Edward, now a wanderer, found solace in obscurity, his sword rusting in a forgotten corner of some inn. Though they never met again, each man often thought of that fateful night and the shared humanity that transcended the battlefield. In the end, it was not steel or faith that defined them, but the choices they made when the world seemed irredeemably broken.